Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to back to this video series. Today we're going to continue our discussion on Windows Server 2000. So Chapter 8, User and Group Management in Active Directory, Structuring Identity and Access for Enterprise Control. At the heart of any Windows Server environment lies its users and the permissions they carry. In Windows 2000 Server, Active Directory AD brought major changes to how administrators manage users and groups, offering scalable, secure, policy-driven identity control. Properly structuring user and group accounts is essential for implementing effective security, streamlining administration, and supporting collaboration. In this chapter, we'll dive deep into the creation, management, and strategic use of users and groups within a Windows 2000 domain. 8.1 Understanding user accounts in Windows 2000. A user account in Active Directory represents a digital identity used to authenticate and authorize access to domain resources. Each user account has a username, login name, a password, a unique SID security identifier, attributes like email, department, group memberships. There are two types of user accounts: domain user accounts managed via Active Directory, local user accounts limited to standalone or workgroup machines. Domain accounts are required for centralized management, roaming profiles, and group policy enforcement. 8.2 Creating user accounts. You can create user accounts using Active Directory users and computers, ADUC, command line tools, DSADD, scripting, VBScript, batch files. Creating a user account via ADUC. So open Active Directory users and computers, navigate to the appropriate organizational unit OU, right-click New User, fill in the user details, name, logon name, assign a password, and set properties like user must change password at next logon, password never expires, account is disabled. 8.3 Managing user properties. After creation, user accounts have numerous configurable attributes, including attribute description, general tab, full name description, office info, account tab, logon name, account expiration, profile tab, roaming profiles, logon scripts, members of group memberships, dial-in, remote access permissions. Use these settings to enforce consistent user environments and access levels. 8.4 Organizational units, OUs. OUs are containers used to locally organize users, groups, and computers. Benefits of using OUs: delegate administrative control, apply group policies at a granular level, reflect organizational structure, departments, roles, locations. Examples: OU marketing, OU IT support, OU remote workers. So OU means organizational unit. You should avoid placing users in the default users container and instead use structured OUs, which again is organizational units, for better control. Introduction to groups. Groups in Active Directory simplify the management and permissions and policies. Instead of assigning rights to each user individually, you can assign them to groups and add users as members. There are two types of groups: security groups, used for permissions and security settings; distribution groups, used for email distribution lists, exchange, add tree scopes; domain local, used to grant access to resources within the same domain; global, used to group users for the same domain; universal, used to group users across domains in a forest, requires GC. Okay, the AGDLP model. Accounts, global, domain, local permissions help organize permissions cleanly. Create a group via ADUC. Right-click the desired OU, select New Group, and enter group name and select scope type, set group properties and add members, modify group membership from a group object, go to members tab and add remove users, or from a user object use the member of tab. You can also use tools like dsmod and net group for command line operations. 8.7 special identities built-in groups. Windows includes special groups that users are added to automatically during certain actions. Group description: everyone, all users authenticated on the network, authenticated users interactive, all users except anonymous users logged in locally, network users accessing over the network, administrators full control over domain or local computer, domain users default group for all domain accounts, built-in groups such as domain admins, backup operators, and account operators serve specific administrative purposes. 8.8 delegation control. Active Directory allows for delegation of administrative tasks without giving full domain access. For example, you can delegate OU specific tasks like password resets to junior admins, use the delegation of control wizard. 1. Right click the OU and ADUC. 2. Choose delegate control. 3. Select user group. 4. Choose tasks. Reset passwords, create, delete user accounts. This principle of least privilege enhances security and decentralizes administration. 8.9 password and account policy. Domain-wide account policies are set in the default domain policy GPO, which is group policy object. Settings include policy, example value, minimum password length 8 characters, password complexity enabled, account lockout threshold 5 failed attempts, lockout duration 30 minutes. 8.10 automating user and group management. Windows 2000 supports scripting tools to automate user creation and management. You can see from the output here. You can also use batch files, VBScript, or third-party tools to automate large deployments. 8.11 best practices. Use structured OUs to reflect your organization. Apply group policy based on OU rather than individual users. Implement AGDLP and UDLP with universal groups for permissions. Avoid granting rights directly to users. Use naming conventions for users and groups. GRP, HR, read only, regularly audit group memberships and inactive accounts. Implement delegation to reduce administrative bottlenecks. Scenario: onboarding new employees, company, mid-sized law firm, domain lawfirm.local, OUs, OU equals staff, OU equals partners, OU equals IT process. 1. HR notifies IT of new employee. 2. IT runs a script to create new accounts in OUs equals staff, assign a complex password, enable account, user added, GRP, staff drives, GRP, intranet users. 4. Group policy auto maps network drives and sets desktop wallpaper. Form access permissions inherited via group membership, not assigned directly. Result: efficient, repeatable onboarding with minimal errors and strong security. Summary: managing users and groups in Active Directory is a cornerstone of network administration in Windows 2000 Server. Through useful thought of OUs, groups, policies, and delegation, administrators can ensure consistent, scalable, and secure management of digital identities. In the next chapter, we'll examine shared resources and file permissions, diving into the NTFS file system, network shares, and effective permission strategies. Chapter 9, shared resources and file permissions. Securing data access in a multi-user environment. Efficient management of shared resources one of the most critical responsibilities of a Windows Server administrator. In Windows 2000 Server, the combination of NTFS file permissions and network share permissions allows fine-grained control over who can access, modify, or delete data across the enterprise. In this chapter, we'll explore how to share resources, set and manage permissions using the NTFS file system, understand the difference between NTFS and share permissions, and apply security best practices. 9.1 Understanding file sharing in Windows 2000. In a corporate environment, users need to access common files, folders, and sometimes entire applications hosted on servers. File sharing in Windows 2000 enables this collaboration securely and efficiently. Key concepts: share, expose folders on the network for remote access. Permissions restrict or allow access. NTFS provides security even when not accessed over the network. Auditing tracks user activity on files and folders. Security should always follow the principle of least privilege. Users only get to access their truly need. 9.2 Creating a folder. To share a folder, right-click any folder in Windows Explorer, select sharing, choose share this folder, provide a share name, public docs, set maximum simultaneous users if needed, click permissions to configure access. By default, the Everyone group has read access. This should usually be restricted. Windows 2000 offers 3 levels of share permissions: permission, description, read, view folder contents, and open files. Change, read, write, delete, and create files. Full control all rights, including modifying permissions. Share permissions apply only when accessing the resource over the network. 9.4 NTFS permissions overview. Unlike share permissions, NTFS permissions apply both locally and remotely. They offer more granularity and are tied to the file system itself. NTFS standard permissions: permission, description, full control, all permissions including changing ownership, modify, read, write, execute, and delete, read and execute, view and run executable files, list folder contents, view folder names, folders only, read, view contents and attributes, write, create and change files. NTFS permissions are inherited from parent folders by default. Through this behavior, this can be changed. 9.5 Combining NTFS and share permissions. When both NTFS and share permissions apply, the most restrictive permission wins. Example: share permission, everyone, full control. NTFS permission, user equals read. Result: user has read-only access. Best practice: set share permission to everyone, full control, and control access using NTFS permission only. 9.6 Using special permissions and advanced control. NTFS also supports special permissions, which break down standard permissions into specific actions such as traverse folder, take ownership, delete subfolders and files, change attributes. These can be configured via the Advanced button in the Security tab. Use with care for scenarios requiring detailed control. Never assign permissions directly to individual users. Instead, create security groups, GRP, HR, read, assign permissions to the group, add users to the appropriate group. This simplifies administration and enhances scalability. 9.8 Inheritance and permission propagation. By default, files and subfolders inherit permissions from their parent. You can block inheritance on a child object via advanced security settings. Use copy when breaking inheritance to preserve existing permissions before customizing, propagating, order, move folders, files, inherit from the parent at creation, moved items may retain all permissions if moved within the same volume. Knowing how inheritance works is crucial to avoid accidental exposure of sensitive files. 9.9 Access-based enumeration, ABE. Windows 2000 does not include access-based enumeration. By default, it was introduced in later versions. This means users may see folders they don't have permission to open. To reduce confusion or security concerns, apply NTFS permissions strictly. Consider using third-party tools if ABE is necessary. 9.10 Auditing access to files and folders. Enable audit object access in the local security policy or group policy. On the folder, go to Properties, Security, Advanced Auditing. Define which users' actions to audit, e.g. read, write, delete. Logs are written to the security log in Event Viewer. 9.11 Useful tools for managing shares and permissions. Tool use. Computer management. View and manage shared folders. CACLS. XCACLS. Modify NTFS permissions from command line. Net share view. Create, delete shares via command line. Explore security tab. GUI based NTFS permission control. 9.12 Real world scenario. Department share setup. Organization, public health agency. Goal. Each department has its own file share with secure access. Steps taken. Create folders. D shares. HRD shares finance. D shares IT. 2 shares shared each folder with everyone. Full control. 3 applied NTFS permissions. GRP. HR modify. On HR GRP. Finance modify. On finance GRP. IT full control and IT. 4 used. Logon scripts. Map drives. Net use. Server HR. Enable basic auditing to track unauthorized access attempts. Outcome secure. Easy to manage file sharing that respects departmental boundaries. 9.13 Best practice for file and share security. Use NTFS permissions for detailed control. Assign permissions to groups, not users. Set share permissions to full control and rely on NTFS. Regularly audit file access and permissions. Document your permission structures. Block inheritance only when necessary. Use naming standards for shares or groups. Summary. Windows 2000 offers a robust framework for managing shared resource by mastering NTFS and shared permissions. You can protect sensitive data while ensuring users have the access they need. Combined with group-based management and proper auditing, the system provides the flexibility and control required for enterprise environments. In the next chapter, we'll explore group policy, the powerful tool that allows centralized management of user and computer settings across the domain. So chapter 9, continued group policy essentials and deployment, centralized management for security and configuration. Group policy in Windows 2000 Server provides administrators with a powerful way to manage and configure user and computer settings across a network. Group policy allows for centralized administration, enabling administrators to define configurations, enforce security policies, and control the environment for users and computers regardless of their location in the network. In this chapter, we'll explore how to implement and manage group policy in Windows 2000 Server, including best practices for security, automation, and troubleshooting. Group policy allows administrators to control the working environment of users and computers by configuring settings that apply to both domains and organizational units (OUs). It is based on group policy objects, GPOs, which contain a set of configuration settings and can be applied at different levels within the Active Directory hierarchy. Key concepts: group policy object GPO, a collection of policy settings; group policy container GPC, the data store for GPOs in the Active Directory database; group policy template, the file system container that stores the policy settings in the GPO. 9.2 GPO scope and application. GPOs can be linked to various levels of Active Directory, allowing flexibility in how policies are applied across the network. Local GPO applies only to the local machine for standalone and non-domain computers. Site GPO applies to all computers in a specific Active Directory site. Domain GPO applies to all computers in a domain. OU GPO apply to computers and users within a specific organizational unit. OU. The last applied policy wins in case of conflicting settings, with domain GPOs taking precedence over local GPOs, and so on. 9.3 Group policy objects. Creating a GPO. Open the Group Policy Management Console (GPMC) on a Windows 2000 server. Right-click the domain or OU where you want to create the GPO. Select Create the GPO in this domain. Link it here. Name the GPO, e.g. Security Settings Policy. Configure the GPO by editing it and selecting the desired policy settings. Editing GPO. Once you can configure policies within a GPO by navigating to 1. User configuration, software settings, manage software installation and maintenance. Windows settings, configure user-specific settings like desktop configurations, security options, and logon scripts. Administrative templates, set registry-based policies such as password policies and application restrictions. 2. Computer configuration, Windows settings. Configure machine-specific settings like security, system services, and logon scripts. Software settings, software installation as applied to computers. Administrative templates. Set machine-level registry-based policies like system performance settings and security configurations. Security settings important for enforcing password policies, account lockout, and other security measures across the domain. 9.4 Linking and inheriting GPOs. Once you created a GPO, it must be linked to the appropriate Active Directory container, site, domain, or OUs. GPOs linked to a container apply to all objects within it. You can choose to block inheritance, prevent GPOs from being applied to an OU, which can be useful when you need an exception. Enforce a GPO. Ensure that the GPO is applied even if higher level policies would normally block it. Example, a domain-wide GPO may enforce password complexity. An OU-specific GPO may restrict access to certain system settings for a specific department. Group policy processing order. The processing order of group policy is crucial to understand, as it determines which policies are applied when multiple policies affect a given object. The processing order is as follows. Local GPO always processed first and applies to the local machine. Site GPO applies next for machines within a given Active Directory site. Domain GPO applies after site GPOs to all machines in the domain. For OU GPO, OU, which is organizational unit, GPO is group policy object. Finally, most GPOs apply to objects in a particular OU take precedence. Tip: if there are any conflicting complex settings, the GPO linked to the lowest level container OU will take precedence. 9.6 Common group policy settings. Here are some common group policies that you might configure to ensure consistent, secure, and controlled behavior. Security settings. Account lockout policy enforces account lockout after a specific number of failed logon attempts. Password policy requires users to create passwords of a specific length, complexity, and expiration. Audit policy configures auditing for login attempts, file access, and changes to user accounts. Desktop settings. Desktop wallpaper ensures all users use a standard company wallpaper. Start menu configuration. Configure the appearance of the start menu to maintain a uniform desktop experience. Logon scripts automate tasks like mapping network drives or starting applications when users log in. Software deployment. Software installation. Deploy software packages to computers on the domain automatically via group policy. Group policy and security. Group policy plays a critical role in enforcing security across your network. Some of the most important settings include user rights assignment. Determine what actions users can perform on the system, e.g. backup files, change system time. Local security policies. Define rules for user authentication, password requirements, and audit. Logging. Audit policy configures which types of events are logged, logon attempts, object access. It is essential to restrict administrative rights using group policy, ensuring that only authorized users can access sensitive systems and data. 9.8 Group policy troubleshooting. Group policy, like any other part of the Windows 2000 environment, can sometimes fail to apply correctly. Here are some steps to help troubleshoot common issues. Tools for troubleshooting. GP result. Use this command to view group policy settings applied to a specific user or computer. Example, bash. Copy edit GP result /or. Group policy results wizard, a graphical tool that can be used to generate a report of the group policy settings applied to a user or computer. Event viewer. Check the system and application logs for group policy errors or issues related to GPO processing. RSOP. Resultant set of policy. Analyze the effective policies applied to a user or computer. Help to pinpoint conflicts or unexpected behavior. 9.9 Best practices for group policy management. To ensure group policy is effective and doesn't negatively impact system performance or security, follow these best practices. Use security filtering. Apply GPOs only to specific groups or users by using security filtering to minimize unnecessary policy application. Group policy modeling. Before implementing a new GPO, use group policy modeling to test its impact on users and computers. Avoid overuse of GPOs. Too many GPOs can cause administrative overhead and potentially slow down login times. Consolidate GPOs where possible. Audit and review GPOs regularly. Group policy settings should be audited regularly to ensure compliance and security. Centralized configuration. Use GPOs to centralize administrative tasks and reduce configuration drift across systems. Document all policies. Keep a well-maintained record of all active GPOs, their settings, and their intended purpose. 9.11 Real-world scenario. Securing the IT environment with group policy. Organization, financial services firm, object. Tighten security, manage desktop settings, and prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data. Steps 1. Create a security policy GPO with the following settings. 1. Password length minimum 12 characters. account lockout, 3 invalid attempts, user right assignments, deny log on locally for non-administrative users, create a desktop GPO, apply corporate wallpaper for all users, disable access to control panel and task manager for all users except IT admins, deploy software packages for updates automatically, applies GPOs to respective OUs, IT OU, full control for IT admins, users, OU, restrictions and access control. Result: the firm successfully enforced stricter security policies, standardized desktop environments, and prevented unauthorized actions across the enterprise. Group policy. In Windows 2000, Server is a powerful tool that allows administrators to manage and configure settings across their environment centrally. With its ability to control security settings, software deployment, and user desktop configurations, Group Policy simplifies administration and ensures a consistent and secure environment. In the next chapter, we'll explore security and access control in more depth, focusing on advanced file security, auditing, and protecting sensitive data. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.